And welcome back to another exciting episode of Reality Skewed Gamers, where we review Star Wars Rebels Season 3, Episode 2, which is named Finn,
The Holocrons of Fate.
The Holocrons of Fate. Man, I gotta tell you, man, they're knocking it out of the park so far this season. Usually, after the last two season premieres, it kind of, it dipped off a little bit with the next episodes, but this one, man, got right into the heart of it. I mean, it was an amazing episode. Now, this is just my opinion, but what did you think overall? Initial thoughts of the episode, Finn?
I thought it was a great episode overall. It built up a lot of suspense on some of these different kind of things, and towards the end when we talk
The
about it,
ending.
I think it
Ooh.
it started to give a little bit of a cue towards the movies. It seems like.
Yeah, we're going to get into that. So let's start off. Let's just break down the episode as we go along. So first, we start off. We see that Kanan and Ezra are having a little bit of an argument about the holocron. You kind of see that there's a little separation between them still. Ezra's still in that mindset that we need to figure out how to defeat the Sith. Ezra's coming from his journey from the premiere where he's in a different mindset. He's starting to patch things together and he's starting to see things a little bit differently. But Ezra still got that mindset, even though he's starting to come back to the light a little bit. There's still that temptation to him that he will do whatever it takes to defeat the Empire and his enemies. Um, Now, why that's happening, that you see that they come up to this transport, looks like it's been destroyed, but before they can even uh, they get in there and they find the pilot that tells them what happened. That kind of mutters, red lightsaber, and then they know immediately that
Assume it's the Inquisitor.
they assume it's an Inquisitor, like there's a new Inquisitor after them, right? So they get back on their ship, and then the next thing you see is that they figure out, because they told the guy before he passes that, they know they got to warn the Ghost Crew. So they immediately call the Ghost Crew to warn them that there's a new Inquisitor. Call Hera. Hera pops up and she's like, now stop. And then you see Maul pop up. As people know him as Darth Maul, but he's no longer a Sith, so we just call him Maul now. So Maul shows up and he wants them to go get bring him the holocron, right? Let me bring up the next image. All right. Um, so you see then that they have to now Ezra and Kanan have to go back to the planet to get the holocron. All right, but before we do that, we see that Darth Maul has the Ghost Crew. They have some interaction. He's looking for the Jedi holocron because he tells Kanan to bring it, right? And then at this scene here, he tells that he wants to tour the ship. So Hera reluctantly goes and gives him a tour of the ship. While she's doing that, he's going from room to room, and then he senses what he's really looking for. He finds by force, he forces it out of Hera, and also Kenyan's real name, Caleb. Which that was his original name. That's his true name when he was a Jedi Padawan. And if you guys haven't read the comic book Kanan, phenomenal comic book, and the book of how him and Hera meet is really phenomenal too. Um, Finds the Jedi holocron. What did you think of that scene and that particular sequence of events there, Finn?
I think the one thing that kind of stood out, and maybe this was something that happened in one of the previous seasons. So just something for all of you guys in case you're joining us for the first time here. I basically started at the beginning of season 3, and Ranger has been watching Rebels for the entire time. So we're
Mm-hmm.
coming at it from a little bit of a different perspective. But when Sabine was basically told by Maul to be that she should trust him because he used to rule over her, that kind of piqued my interest in order to figure out what exactly he was talking about and how he was ruling over the Mandalores and stuff.
So you don't know about that. That's interesting. So back in the Clone Wars, I think season 6, Maul and his brother, who's your favorite characters in our Earth stream we do for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, they take over the Mandalorians. Basically, he becomes a ruler. And then part of them break off with another character that'll be in this season of Rebels. Um, she's coming back, but she leads a resistance against Maul. And what happens is while they're leading this resistance, they have this big fight. Guess who shows up? Take a guess.
Who?
The Emperor. Basically, Darth Sidious shows up, and at first Maul's is bowing, and his brother's like, "Who is this dude?" And then he's like, Darth Sidious is like, "You've become a threat," and they have this epic fight where um, Maul's brother gets killed. That's where he dies.
Yeah,
And
I've seen that.
Yeah, right. So that's where Savage dies, and so that's the whole storyline there. You'd have to go back into, I think, and I could be wrong. I'm sure the fans will correct us when we make our mistakes, and go back and watch it. But that's what he was referencing, and I like that you brought that up, that they did reference that material in here. And Dave Filoni is a master at this. He's a master of two things: tying in all different storylines. And one of the things that you notice he's doing too is he's bringing back legend stuff that people really missed about the old books that are no longer canon, and he's making it canon again, like Thrawn and things of that nature. So really fascinating. It's that little quote, but it says so much more than just what they're saying. And um so we have Maul. He gets the Jedi Holocron. Of course they try to make a move against him. It doesn't work. He basically overpowers them again because they're just outmatched. You can say what you want about Maul, but he's an exceptional fighter and warrior. I mean, he basically they had this plan to magnetize him that didn't quite work. He basically dispatched them again. So
there was something weird with all of that, though.
well,
I found it a little peculiar. I remember, at least from the movies and whatnot, when like you couldn't use the Force on a weak-willed person in order to kind of control their mind. I was surprised that Maul was able to control Hera as easily as he did in getting the information about the holocron.
There's two forms of mind control, right? The Jedi just use it to get by with stuff, right? The weak-minded are more easily manipulated, but the Sith, dark side users, it's like it's like a rape of the mind. They go in. If you remember in The Force Awakens, how Kylo Ren is really, forcing his way into the information, even though they don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
That's more about what he's doing there. He's not trying to tell her to do something. He's trying to extract information out. And so what he's doing is he's trying to pull that information out. Now Jedi can do it too, but it's against their ethical standards. They don't like doing that. So it's just such a violation of a person. Sith and the dark side don't care. It's like, you have the information I need, and I'm going to get it, and you don't have a choice. And that's basically what he does there with his hand. Is he's going into her mind and tapping into what he wants to know, and it's an extreme violation of a person.
No, I know that, but I was saying that it's not supposed to work on like a weak-willed person. So when like Kylo tried it against Rey basically resisted all of Kylo's attempts.
That has nothing.
I was surprised that Hera didn't resist.
No. So the difference is that Hera doesn't have the Force and Rey does. So what happens is if you try to use that ability on someone that's stronger in the Force, it creates a gateway to both ways. You saw how Rey was fighting it, and then it switched where she could read his mind. Hera can't do that. It has nothing to do about her. She was resisting. Just remember, like, what's the character's name? Oscar, I'm going blank here. Poe, right? Poe's got a strong will and character. However, he was unable to resist what Kylo Ren was doing, right? However, Rey was able to resist it more and flip it because she has the Force, So, and she's stronger than he is in the Force, and that's how she was to be able to overcome it. Hera and Poe, both in that situation, are fighting, but if the dark side user is strong enough, which Maul is, he can. It doesn't matter. He's going to break through, and he's going to get what he needs, right? And so I don't fault Hera for that. I mean, he could do that to a lot of people. I mean, strong people with that ability. So, but tell us what you guys think. So let's move on to the next image. If I can get the next image. And that's the scene where we see Maul finds the holocron, and then he gets all pissed off because he can't get the holocron. So we kind of touched based off that. I should have done that one sooner. Um, Next image.
It was funny their reaction to hearing him. He's just sitting in that room, and you can just hear the echoes through the ghost. Come
Yeah,
on, come on! It was just funny hearing that as his
I
reaction.
know he was trying to, but Jedi holocrons and Sith holocrons, you have to have that aspect of the Force to open them. A Jedi holocron is not going to open for a Sith unless they have the light side as part of their being, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to react just like Ezra's. The reason he can use the Sith holocron is he has aspects of the dark side. So we already cut through the couple other scenes I should have shown, but you saw them. That was just all everything we were talking about. Now we
That
get
was
back.
my favorite scene, by the way.
Yeah,
The one that you just cut through.
yeah. It was. It was.
Chopper to the rescue, at least for a little while.
Chopper got Chopper got tossed.
He got tossed, but he did the magnetizing and got
Yeah,
on the roof.
yeah.
And
But
he broke through all the chains and everything. He did what he could as a little disgruntled droid.
I know he's your favorite little disgruntled droid.
He
So
is.
he's great. So let's get into Kanan and Ezra. So they go back to the planet. They get with the Bendu, and they ask him for the Sith holocron back, given their explanation. What did you think of this scene and how it played out about them going back to get the Sith holocron?
I think the way that they're building Bendu is kind of interesting. Like now they have Ezra and Kanan going to him, and he right now he's kind of playing a role similar to what Yoda played to Luke in the movies, but Bendu is part of like a neutral force user.
Yep.
I'm wondering if like Maul or if a dark side person will come to Bendu and he'll still help him because he's just neutral. He's not really on one side or the other.
No, he's not. I mean, he if you when he sends him to the caves, like they could get the holocron or they could get eaten by spiders. Either could happen, and he's neutral to the fact. I think if you met a dark side user, yeah, you'd answer their questions, but they also
Yeah.
they're going to be like, well, you're a little ridiculous. You're seeking power, and they'll try to counsel them that like power is not everything. There's balance. They believe in balance of the force. That both sides have to be in. That's why he's in the middle. So a dark side user, he would be more than happy to answer their questions. I would fathom, and would argue with them about the aspect of the dark side and everything. Just like with Kanan with the light side, having to him see to answer those questions that were pertinent to him in the light side of the force. So Kanan and Ezra, they have to go in the cave. Kanan has to guide Ezra pretty much the whole way to get the holocron. Then they have to work together. And it was a fascinating scene here where there's a moment where Ezra, finally how much he blames himself for Kanan losing his eyesight. It's like, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. And Kanan looks at him and says, no, it's not your fault, and I don't blame you. And then you see Ezra hug Kanan, and then you see the Bendu on the outside smiling, like there was the imbalance that you guys had. And I thought that was a great scene, where it showed them talking about the conflict within each other and getting it out there and laying it out and getting saying like, look, it's not your fault. You didn't do this. This had nothing to do with you need to forgive yourself. And I thought that was pretty cool for them to have that moment. Because the Bendu said, you guys, there is conflict with you. You guys are getting there, but you're not there yet. And then even warns after they get the holocron, he gets out. It's like, yeah, you've taken the right steps, but you're not there yet. And then he warns them about why, if you combine a Sith and a Jedi holocron, it can open up any that. And they figure out that's why Maul wants it, because if you combine them, it gives you this clarity of sight in the Force, so you can see everything. But there's a huge price to pay for it, right? So he kind of warns them about that. So anything more about that set of scenes that you want to go into, or we want to move on to the next thing?
I think the the thing that I brought away most from that was just Kanan talking to Ezra about not being so quick to use the Force and be so aggressive.
Yeah, with
I
the
think it's
spiders.
definitely a yeah, with the spiders. And it seems like it's a good track to try and bring him back to the light side more than favoring the dark side with Maul, because obviously that's going to be kind of the conflict of this season, which
Hmm.
is Maul pulling him in one direction, Kanan pulling him in the other, and Ezra trying to find that balance.
Yeah,
Um, I feel like Bendu is going to have a bigger role for Ezra moving forward. So that's that was my favorite part about it, which was just Kanan telling Ezra, stop thinking so much with just attacking and being so aggressive. Just feel it, relax. And that was like the whole mantra during the whole thing. It's just relax and just don't be frightened. Just do what you got to do.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get into the next scene. So I'll let you take it from here. Tell the folks what happens next.
So once that happens, Kanan and Ezra go back onto the Ghost, and they have the Sith holocron with them. Darth Maul takes Ezra with the little droids, which, by the way, are the funniest things with their little smiley faces. They're like they seem like this
Emojis.
ancient, yeah. They're just emoji faced droids, which I loved. But so so Ezra is escorted away from Kanan with that, and Maul escorts Kanan down a corridor, and basically he's basically says, well, kind of apologizes, saying that it was never his
Oh,
intention to
man,
blind Kanan. Although Kanan's like, no, it was to kill me. I know that.
yeah. Yeah.
And Maul basically goes, okay, well, I, I can do that, and basically shoots him out of the ghost, which is kind of, I don't know how the Force exactly works, but if you get thrown out into space, you're probably going to die because it's a giant vacuum. But in any case, he goes onto the ghost. He manages to kind of propel himself back into the ghost, and then he ends up saving the rest of the ghost crew, who are being held by the other droids. And Maul tells the other droids to kill the ghost crew, even though he made a promise to Ezra.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, that kind of speaks to the side of Maul that we all kind of expect, being that he's Sith, and we equate that to kind of the evil side.
Yeah.
But
Lies,
Kanan,
deceit, treachery. Yeah, it's all about what the Sith says. And you can see the scene where he gets, she launches him out of the tube.
yep.
Oh, so bad. And so then we get to the final scene, which was really important. So you see the two holocrons opened. You see what happens when that happens is that they both start seeing things, right? And they have a back and forth. And what was fascinating is out of this, that this starts happening. So before we get into what they see, all right, this starts happening. They're having their exchange. They're trying to. Maul's trying to push him. What do you see? What do you see? And he's like, I can see it. You know, and they're starting to see all these things. And then you see the ghost crew come in, and you see Kanan, this huge bright light. They can't. No one can see anything, but Kanan can. He can see them through this light, through the Force. And he comes up to Ezra and is able to pull him out at the last second, even though Ezra's just begging for an answer of how to defeat the Emperor, not the Empire, the Emperor. What that's what Ezra's looking for, and he even mentions it. I can see it. Then he's able to break him off. Huge explosion happens. Right, Maul runs out. He escapes. Now, at the end of the episode, right before it credits, Maul is saying, because they both saw the same thing. Maul's fixation
Well, I don't
is
know if they saw the same thing.
they did see the same thing, but what they saw in it was a little different. So they both saw Tatooine, and they both saw the Twin Suns, and they both saw different planets and things of that nature. But Maul's greatest thing that drives him to psychosis is killing Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's been his. If you go through the Clone Wars, everything he does, he has multiple battles with Obi-Wan Kenobi. He is determined to kill him and destroy him for what he did in Episode One, The Phantom Menace, when he cut him in half. Right. That's what fueled him, is just his revenge he wants against Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so when you see him at the when he's running out, and first he shakes his head, he's like he's alive, and he's alive like this gleeful, happy, but mad driven look on his face, like he knows where Obi-Wan Kenobi is, and now he's going to go after him, which we'll get into in a second. And then Ezra, he gets his answer, right? Because this is what this does. But he doesn't know what to make of it because he's not familiar. And Maul had been to Tatooine before. He knows where that planet is because he went there in episode 1 of The Phantom Menace. It's not like he's never been there before and doesn't know what that represents. Ezra did, and he was like, I saw two suns, and I can't make out what it means, other than the answer is there on how to defeat the Emperor, which is amazing because what they did is they revealed to Ezra, who doesn't know it yet, that defeating the Emperor is Luke Skywalker, and that's where he's at. And it was fascinating how they put that in there and tied it in together. But that's the reason why they both saw different things, because Maul's purpose, once he found out where Obi-Wan was, because remember, that holocron was Obi-Wan Kenobi's holocron. He created that, and if you saw the first episode of Rebels, that's what Kane is looking at, and it's a message from Obi-Wan saying, hey, blah, 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 and it's knowledge, right? But, so Maul sees Obi-Wan, and then his whole dynamic changes because he's like, I got to get this mofo, and I know where he's at, and it's going to lead, which is going to be fascinating with canon, because the thing that I mean, before I go into this little spiel, what were your thoughts of all that and everything that transpired?
Well, so initially, that's why I thought that they may not have seen the exact same thing, which is that before they even started it, they mentioned how you have to have a question that the holocron to answer, or what your purpose is and what the secret is that you're trying to get, because that you're getting a secret. And Ezra says that mine is to defeat the Sith, and Maul says his is just hope. It's not very clear what exactly it is. And so when they go into it, I came out with the same conclusion as you, which is that they're both looking at Tatooine, but Ezra is probably more focused on Luke and all the images of Luke as to how the Sith get defeated. And the hope that Maul has kind of goes along with what you're saying, which is that he just wants to kill Obi-Wan. So that's his hope, that there's a way that he can still kill him.
Yes, absolutely. And so it's going to be interesting how they tie this up, because in episode 4, right, they made it seem like Obi-Wan had been there all this time. He hadn't really seen or heard his name. He's known as Ben Kenobi. He's not known as Obi-Wan. He says, I have that, he has that reaction. Luke says something that, that's the name I haven't heard in a long time. Now, of course, as Obi-Wan says, the truth is about, how you perceive it, um, from a certain point of view. It's going to be interesting how they're going to tie this up. Maul is going to go after Obi-Wan. Now, I'll be disappointed if they don't have that confrontation this season, right? And it's going to be interesting if the Ghost Crew takes this knowledge, and where does it take them? Because if it takes them to Tatooine, they know who General Kenobi is. They will refer to him as Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. So they have to play it in a way, maybe they just say Master Kenobi, and they never say Obi-Wan, right? So I don't know how they're going to get around that, but they've opened the door now for this to happen, and I don't know how they're going to tie it in. So it's going to be really interesting to see, how they're going to play this. Or if they're even going to wrap this part of it open this season, where we just have, like they've done in the comics, where we have an offshoot of an Obi-Wan story where we see the Sith, Darth Maul go after, a one shot where it's nothing about the Ghost Crew of the Rebellion. It's about Maul finally having his final confrontation with Obi-Wan. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. And now, that being said, I thought this episode was fantastic. I really did. I loved it. I loved the whole story and what it revealed. I thought it was I think they've kind of learned that, last season they had a lot of filler stuff. Now, season 1 filler stuff was to learn more about the characters. They did that somewhat in season 2. There was just episodes you're like, okay, it's okay. But this so far has a congruity with the story that it's really starting to get things going. And I'm really I'm really digging it. So, anything on that you want to hit on, Finn? Or
Well, I actually think that the whole Obi-Wan versus Maul is probably gonna go beyond this season. It's
could be
maybe I'm reading a little bit more into it, but here's just kind of my thinking at this point. When the explosion happened, Maul basically ran away immediately and didn't really have a chance to recap with Ezra. Ezra really wasn't too specific in what he saw. He was basically just saying he saw the two suns and whatnot. So that just kind of implies Tatooine, not too much more. He didn't really know exactly what Ezra saw. And keep in mind that Maul's thing was to try and find hope, and Ezra was to find the end of the Sith. If you remember the name of episode 4 of the movie, it's called A New Hope.
right.
I have a feeling that Maul right now thinks that the way to bring about the end of the Sith might be old Ben, thinking that Ezra might have seen the exact same thing. And I'm thinking towards the end of the Rebels, the whole series is probably when the whole Maul and Obi-Wan thing might finally conclude, and that leads into episode 4.
Could be. I mean, we're speculating, but that's a great point, and that's what it could turn out to be. So I give this episode a great positive review. I'm really liking the directions that they're going. Now we already know the name of the next one is, it's going to be about how, which they kind of teased us with the teaser, with the trailer for this season, is, this is where they're going to find, you know Wedge Antilles, where this is where they're going to try to get those guys out of there. So we know that this is going to be another offshoot, but it's going to be tying in more into canon, bringing in Wedge, who's the only pilot that was a part of destroying both Death Stars. He's considered one of the greatest pilots ever, ever. I mean, even in the Legend books, he goes on to become a incredible leader, pilot, strategist, especially when it came into space combat, um, for the New Republic. So it'll be interesting to see his origins and where, because that's where they're introducing him. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see that. So I'm really fascinated to see how this is going to play out. So we have a lot to look forward to. So anything else we want to hit on this episode of Rebels, other than we loved it to death?
No, it's just a lot of theories that are going on with the end of that. So I think it's really cool the way that they're bringing everything.
Yeah. So tell us in the comments what you guys think. We had some good discussions last on the season premiere. We had some corrections that we made, and me calling the Bendu the Boken, which is not correct, and other things, but that's
He's a
okay.
Tauren.
It's torn. Um, but yeah, give us your thoughts of where you think some of this will be heading, and your comments. This is what we love, getting a discussion going on this. So please leave a comment. Tell us what you think. We really love the feedback.
If you liked the video you just saw, please make sure to give us the thumbs up vote so we can make more videos just like this. Please subscribe to our channel so you get notifications about upcoming live streams and our latest video postings. Check out the Reality Skewed Gamers storefront on Cafe Press at cafepress.com/Reality Skewed Gamers, where you can get some of the new Reality Skewed Gamers merchandise and show your support. Visit our website, realityskewedgamers.blogspot.com, to find articles about Star Wars and also download some of the graphics we use in our videos and on the live streams. Make sure to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. If you have any ideas for videos, Reality Skewed Gamer merchandise, or any other content ideas, please message us on Twitter or Facebook and you may see your ideas on our channel. Thanks for watching.